Hello everyone, my name is Gustav Maya, and today I'm going to show you how to make this really good looking effect where you have this type of letters or this type of text that changes colors with this effect around here. So let's take a look. Great, yeah. Alright, so we're going to use Cinema 4D for this. I'll be using Cinema 4D R14. Today I'll be working on a Mac. Please don't ask me why, but it's true. Not that I have anything against Macs, I don't, but usually I prefer to work graphics on Windows. So we'll be working on Cinema 4D, and then we'll jump right into After Effects and make the final adjustments there. Alright, so let's get started. Today I'll be using a Mac, and I'm using Cinema 4D Studio R14. First thing I like to do is to set my preferences, my render settings, so I like to type everything manually, although you can use the presets there that you can find over here. So let me just set my preferences. This way we have a 16 by 9 ratio. Alright, so 72, great, everything looks okay. Frame rate 30, let's just choose 2997. And this is basically these settings match the preset HDTV or HDTV, HDV or HDTV 720, 29, and 97. Alright, so now let's create a text from our splines menu over here. Let's write something like wave and choose a different type of font. I'm using I think is where is it? I like for these things to choose some fat fonts like this one, for example, and because we want the cubes to have somewhere to fit. If you have a really thin type of typography, you won't have enough space for the cubes to fit. So this looks good. Make sure your alignment is in the middle. If you have it on the left, well, there's not really a big issue with that, but I just like to keep things on the middle. Okay, so next I'm going to change the viewport to the front view, so I can just align a little bit these letters. So for this I'll just choose vertices here, and with the text selected, just hit the C key on your keyboard, which is the same thing that coming over here, and make it editable. Now we can select the vertices over here, select the vertices, and you can arrange and even change your text. Only thing I want to do is probably to, make some small slight adjustments so that typography looks a little bit better, like so, and like so. Okay, now be sure to move it again. I'm using the grid as reference so that the object kind of fits in the middle. Not concerned about the floor here right now, although I can bring this a little bit lower into the ground. Okay, and it looks fairly centered. Right, So let's create some mesh, because right now we only have a spline, and if you render this you see nothing because this doesn't have any volume. So let's go over here and choose extrude NURBS, bring the text inside the extrude NURBS and set the movement to 0 all the way. So now we have very thin lines, a very thin geometry. Next thing, just create a cloner. So go to MoGraph, cloner, and create a cube. Now this cube is huge. We don't want it that big, so let's just type 10 centimeters to the size of the cube. So it looks small like that. And bring the cube into the cloner, select the cloner, and in mode, let's change the mode to object, and let's bring these extrude NURBS to the object. Okay. Let's just change some names. Cubes 1, there will be a cubes 2, and okay. Now let's go to cubes, object, and where it says distribution, we don't want the vertex, we want the surface, and increase the count extremely, like let's start with 1,000, maybe even 1,500 or 2,000. Okay, we can increase this a little bit more, but for now it's okay. Right. Still getting used to this laptop. Okay. So let's create a material. Let's name it wave. And in the color, let's go with the texture and choose gradient. Okay, bring the wave texture to the cubes. Cubes 1, great. And if we render this, you can see that the gradient is all over each cube. We don't want that. We really don't want that, so no problem with that. For this, we will go over here on our texture tag and change the projection from UVW mapping to flat. Right. A little bit better, but still, we still have lots of repetitions, lots of this is called tiling, okay, and we don't want this. So let's edit a little bit how our texture fits our object, and for this we must come to texture over here. This is a simple way to do this, okay, and maybe in the front view it will be easier, but we still need to see the colors, so let's choose something like constant shading or something like that. And if I move this, you can see that the colors of the object, they change. I mean, the texture, the way the texture sits on the object is being affected. So what I need to do is to bring this texture over here and then just scale it. You can scale this over here. Scale it on the x-axis. But you know, before that, let me just go back to our material, click here on the gradient, and let's just change the colors. Okay, so we want to make the object turn from one color to another. So let's choose one color here. I would say something like I don't know, something like green, from green to blue maybe. We can change this later on. No, this is pretty ugly. Green to blue, maybe from a little bit bluish green to blue. Okay, we can change this afterwards just for us to have some kind of reference of what we're doing. So once again, select your object, so your cloner object, cubes 1. Make sure you have this texture modes selected, and then just scale it. And look, when you have this kind of grid on top of your object, you know, with the full size of your object, you can see that there are no repetitions, but we still don't have our desired effect. So let's go back to our gradient and make sure that these two are pretty much in the middle, with a little bit of gradient only over here. And now let's scale this even longer, even further until it disappears right here. Okay, so we can see that our gradient comes from here to there. Okay, like maybe from here to there, and this should be divided by 10, I guess. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 segments. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here's the middle. Around here is our it's our color change. Look over there. Okay, so from I don't know, around these two segments over here, we have our color change. So we need to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over here. So let's make this bigger and leave these two segments like so, away from our object. So the color is constant. Let's just make sure that everything looks good. Okay, we have a kind of a greenish wave. Right. Now I can hide this text. So double click on this circle over here, double click on the bottom circle as well. Okay, so no, this text doesn't appear anymore. No problem with that. Right. And let's go and create our wave effect. So go to Effector. Please make sure your cubes, your cloner is selected. Go to Effector and choose Random. Yeah. Now under Random, go to Parameter and zero out everything on position. Great. Increase the Z-axis a little bit. Transformation on Z, maybe something like this. And go to Fall Off. Shape, you choose something like box. Okay, great. Now, this random, let's go ahead and go to model mode. Let me hide these cubes over here. We need to select this, click and drag on this green, orange dot over here. Basically it's the same thing that pushing this fall off all the way up. And let's go ahead and enable our cubes again. Scale it a little bit, resize it until it has kind of something like this, maybe a little bit bigger, and it's okay. Now let's change again the random. So select our random effector, go to parameter, and just increase slightly the other axis. So we have kind of a little bit messy transformation. And on rotation, let's rotate the objects as well. I don't know how much, you decide that. I'm just pumping up these values a little bit, and we can even scale it a little bit so the cubes don't have, you know, the same size when the random effector is enabled. So something like this, maybe increase a little bit over here, and you know, we can change these settings a little bit later. Okay, right, so now let's rotate this random effector a little bit, around 20 degrees, not so much, around 20 degrees, and let's create an null object. And this null object, we're going to call it animation. And let's click and drag on the random, drag it into animation. And now I just need to animate this null object from left to right, and our effect is there. I just created this thing over here, this null object, because to animate the, well, I can still animate it like this, yes, but to animate the random effector, and if I want, if I need, I'm not sure if I'm going to do it or not, I can just add some other effectors, and animating this will allow me to animate everything at the same time, the movement. Okay, so you don't really need to do this, but it may be helpful. Okay, so now let's just animate this from frame 0. So uncheck everything unless accept the position. So make sure you're at frame 0. Push this backwards a little bit. Make sure I have a little bit of space over there, like so. And frame 0, let's click, keyframe it there. Let's go to frame 90. Push this over here and keyframe it again. So let's see how it looks. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Now, on our cubes 1, let's select this tag, and when it says offset, as you can see, if we animate this value, we have a color change. Now I want to start with this and end up with that. So let's see. I don't want to animate this because I don't want this straight line showing up. So let's make it other way, like so. All right. So keyframe over here, Control or Command if you want to make offset until this little circle here is red, and bring this all the way to the 90, to the frame 90, and push this value up until the blue disappears. Okay, and just click Command or Control if you're on Windows, and the little circle. So let's check if everything looks okay. So the goal here is to kind of fit the color transition with the random effector. If they fit together, it's working. So pretty much okay. All right. Now I think I'm going to change the colors, but maybe not so fast. Not yet. So we have this. Let's create our lightning. So I think I'm going to choose Spotlight over here, and I'm going to show you another technique I use quite often, which is to clone a light source. So I just created a cloner. I'm going to call it lights top, and I created as well how is this is called? This is called a target light or a spotlight. This is a spotlight. And select the cloner, go to Object, and in Mode, let's set this to radial. Okay, so we have our radial lights. Okay, but I want them facing down, so I can, rotate this but I actually prefer to change it here. So make sure you have your cloner object selected. Go into Objects tab, and where it says Plane, you choose XZ. Okay, we're getting there. Now you can increase the radius of our lights. This is the radius of the cloner, and maybe bring this a little bit up, like so. Okay, and make sure you have your cloner selected. Go to Transform and change the value. I'm not sure which one it is. It's the middle one. So change this rotation value in P until the lights hit your object. Great, like so. Okay, our object is still not fully illuminated, but we're getting there. So for that, let's just increase a little bit the radius over here. Increase or decrease a little bit the rotation over here, and let's change the light as well. So uncheck the cloner for a while, and now we see only one light, and this is the same light that's being cloned into here. So maybe a little bit longer. If you click and drag on this orange dots over here, you get this wider light source, and it looks okay. Maybe just, and again I'm repeating the process, increase the radius, and we can still increase the number of lights here on the count. Okay, let's just make a quick render, but before that I would like to select the light and add some shadows. Okay, just a quick render. Okay, quick render. Okay, everything is illuminated a little bit. We're just starting. Now let's duplicate this. So now I have a copy of this. Bring it down a little bit, and maybe go to the transform and just point the lights into the object, like so. A little bit lower and a little bit like so. Let's check how this looks. Looks okay. Let's check from over here. It looks okay. Right. Okay. So the lights seem pretty good, and if let's change a little bit our material. Let's edit this material. It looks kind of rough. So let's come to color. Choose your texture. I'm gonna change these colors actually from one side to the other. Make sure that everything looks good over here while you change over here. Okay, transformation looks okay. This blue could be more to the middle. Not so much, maybe. Okay. Okay. Let's group the lights, just for the sake of simplicity. Lights. Let's just hide them from our viewports. Okay. Great. So what now? Yes, materials. Still editing our materials. So let's take a look. Seems quite awful. So let's add some reflections, but before the reflections, let's create a plane. Make sure our plane has one segment width and one segment in height. Move it up like so, even upper. Scale it. Create a new material and go to basic, check luminance, and let's rename this material luminance. Not sure luminance. Not sure if it's right, but it doesn't really matter. Okay. Drag and drop the material to our plane. Create another null object and bring the plane inside the null object. Let's call this luminance or reflection planes or whatever. Okay, now let's rotate this luminance. And I did this so my axis is over here. There are other ways to do this, to have your axis over here, but I like this one because now I can rotate the plane independently and rotate the plane like so. So it's kind of a easier way for me to set these types of things. This actually looks like it has a target. So if I rotate this this luminance object, it's always pointing to the center. So it actually looks good. Okay, so let's go to our wave material and activate reflection. Bring the reflection down like 35% maybe. And let's just rotate this plane a bit. Let's just choose something like in the middle and rotate the plane a bit, just a little bit, just to have an idea how it looks. Okay, we now have some reflections over here and there. Good. Okay, let's make a small adjustment to our main cube. So uncheck the cloner. Let's hide the random from our viewport for now. We don't need it. And zoom in on the cube. I'm going to change this cube a little bit. So cube, make sure you have the objects tab selected. Go to fillet or fillet. I don't know how to call this or how to read this. And make sure, activate this, make sure your subdivisions is set to 1 and decrease this amount until it looks something like this, maybe 0.5, not sure. Let's just change our display mode to constant shading and lights. Okay, maybe quick shading lines. Yeah, that's it. Okay, let's just render this and see how it looks. This is not our final look that we are trying to achieve, because we want these sharp edges to look sharp. They don't look sharp at all. They look rounded. And that's because we have this Fong tag here. And we can just delete that. So now we can see these sharp edges, and that's what we're aiming at. So let's just bring this out, and this is a little bit more geometry, this edges over here. It will increase the polygon count, so make sure you work with careful. But we get this, get some more detail over here and there. The reflections work better, and it looks pretty much really better, I guess. Let's just increase the reflection a little bit. Let's go for 50%. And we're just trying out. It looks good. It looks good for now. We'll change it later probably. I really don't like these colors yet. So let's go into our render settings and try to activate ambient occlusion and global illumination. And we're going for this, in the end our end result will be something around this. Of course it will take a little bit longer to render, and I'm going to decrease the settings while we work and increase the settings once again in the final render. This is just for us to make sure our material looks as we want. So let's just wait a little bit. By the way, I'm using MacBook Pro 13-inch screen. Not one of the most recent, I guess. Okay, we're going there, we're heading there. Still don't like this blue, so change the blue. Let's go to color and change this blue to something more. And this is a trial and error phase. Let's maybe activate the interactive render region and bring this arrow here up to the top. And let's take a look. Kind of looks better, I guess, but still kind of awkward. And I think this is due to the specular. So let's uncheck specular. Let's see how it looks from here. Now the specular is kind of an artificial reflection of the light, and because we have so many light sources, our color tends to get a little bit brighter and less, saturated with this specular. So I guess it's better for us to just take that off. Okay, looks good for now. Next step, let's record our camera movement. So I guess I will go from something somewhere, I don't know, from here maybe from here. So I'm choosing, in my perspective view, something close to what I would like to see. And this is not fully worked yet. The reflections are not perfect, and we still have some enhancements to do, but let's work on our camera. So here it looks okay, so I'm gonna create a camera over here and activate the rotation here on our keyframes in our position, and just click this set keyframe. And let's go to maybe increase this so we can have 120 frames. Let's go to our 120 frame, and let's change the position somewhere in the middle, something like this, maybe. Select the camera and press a keyframe over here. Oh yeah, the camera should move, so let's use camera, okay. Sorry, let's do this once more. So to animate the camera this way, make sure you have your use camera checked. And something like so. And honestly, I'm not quite sure what I'm looking at or what I'm looking for right now. just see. Okay. Maybe in the end we would like something a little bit more centered, like so. If I select the object, it's easier for me to center on the object, and maybe like so. Okay. Camera, last frame, hit that. Okay. So obviously this is not at full speed, but we're getting there. Let's just take another look. Okay. Now, time to make a small preview. So I'm going to uncheck this Ambient Occlusion Global Illumination, uncheck Save, go into Output, and here type something around 400 by 2025, so 225. Make sure your frame range is set to all frames, and okay, hit Render. Yes, I want to continue without saving. And this will be only a small preview. You can use other things like make preview. I don't really like to use this because I like to manually make this change my settings manually, so I can have full control of what I'm recording, of what I'm actually rendering at that time. Still, I can also see what's happening while it's rendering, because if you choose this make preview, there will be a small bar growing over here in the lower left corner, and you won't be able to see what's happening. So sometimes I start a render and I just quit in the middle because I notice that something's not right, and that's why I like to do it this way. Okay. Not bad. I just hate the camera movement. Like this final part, I hate. I really don't like it. So let's just change that. No problem. No problem at all. Okay. Let's just delete this camera and create another one. Let's create a target cam. Okay. We have a target camera and we have this camera selected. So let's go into position and zero out everything. Okay. Then let's move the camera away from the object and make sure here we have our camera selected, so we can see what's going on, or see what the camera actually sees. Okay, let's bring this out a little bit, and this will be our last frame over here. So let's go into our final frame and just press record, and let's go to our first frame, and on our top view, sorry about this, on our top view, let's change this a little bit like so, and maybe bring it a little bit downwards and a little bit closer, and set keyframe. Let's take a look how this looks. Okay, pretty much this, but the first frame, the object is not really centered. I would like it to be a little bit more to the right, so we can animate this target. So on our last frame, the target is great, so let's just hit create keyframe or record active objects, whatever. And let's head to our first frame, and on our first frame let's just move the target a little bit to the left, so we have this nice centered object. and okay, in the middle, somewhere in the middle, so in the frame 60, or in the frame maybe 60. Let's take a look at the top view, the position, okay. Around here, let's create another keyframe, like so, here. So our camera movement is a little bit more than just, you know, linear. Okay, looks good. Looks good. And now let's check how it looks in the end. Okay. Now we're going to change this luminance plane in order to have a reflection that we like in the final frame, because the final frame is always very important. This is where everything sits, everything just concludes, and we want our final frame to look good. So let's rotate this like so, and let's create a tag over here called Cinema 4D tags and compositing, and select or deselect scene by camera. Now if I render over here, I don't see the object, I just see the reflection. So let's scale the plane a little bit, just scale it, okay. And on our top left viewport, make sure you see this camera checked over here. So this is what our camera is actually seeing. And with this viewport selected, just hit interactive active region, okay. And now we can make small adjustments over here on these other viewports and see how this affects over there. Okay, like so, like so. Okay, let's just scale this a little bit more, and rotate the luminance, so the null object, a tiny bit. So I'm looking for something that shows the reflection kind of divided in the middle, somewhere in the middle, like so. Maybe like this, but maybe like that, and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Okay, looks good. This looks good, I guess. Maybe just a little bit more. And I'm sorry if I'm taking my time, but I'm just showing you how I make things. And perfection takes time, so you have to be patient. Great. So now, as you can see, we have two different colors. This kind of dark blue and this brighter blue. This is due to the reflection, obviously. And we can achieve a little bit of gradient on this reflection just by going to our luminance channel over here, luminance channel in the material. So make sure you select your material, go to luminance, and in the color, let's in the color over here in texture, let's create a gradient. And hit the gradient over here. Make sure your type is in circular, okay, like so, and make sure the black is not really black, maybe some gray, maybe darker. Okay, great. Go into basic and check color and check specular, and now it looks good. And we should see some differences over here. The point is that we need to have this kind of gradient from white to not that white or a little bit darker. So let's just change this a little bit and see if we can see any difference. And already I can see the difference over here. I don't know if you can, but I can. And this is only to have a little bit more, you know, interest. Bring a little bit interest to the piece. Okay. Maybe just rotate this a little bit. And it doesn't look bad. Okay. Let's just maybe decrease a little bit the brightness in our reflection. Oh, sorry. Okay. And now, let's go to our first frame and let's see how it looks from here. So the first frame is actually really important as well. So let's take a look how it looks from here, or maybe from here to here, and you know. I don't like this, and the way to solve this is to even scale even more our reflection plane. Okay. And once again, we'll need to correct the rotation of our null object. So maybe upwards, maybe more, rotate it even more, even more, even more, like this, like so. Okay, looks good. And so let's duplicate this luminance and rotate it. Let's just have another viewport showing us our perspective view. Display constant shading lights. Okay. It's getting heavy. And let's just rotate this so it fits from the back. Okay. Maybe on the side. And let's create a new material. Let's duplicate this luminance, and on this duplicate luminance material, let's just clear our texture and bring it to our luminance.1, our copy. Okay. Okay. I'm just rotating this until I can see any reflection. That's kind of awkward. We'll just bring the reflection up a bit, and I'm looking to have some reflection over here on the edges, as you can see over there. So looks okay. So we're getting there. We're getting there. Okay, here we are. See these reflections over here? That's what I'm talking about. Okay, great. Now we have some more detail over here and there, looking better. Let's take a look how it looks from here. We have reflections here, great. Reflections there, great. And reflections appearing over here, over there, over there, and finally over here. Okay, let's make another small render, just a preview one. Yes. Wait a while. We still need to change some settings. I'm going to duplicate the cloner with the cubes to make some small cubes and to give a little bit more interest to the piece. So it has some more dynamic objects, not dynamic, but more animated, more moving objects in different objects with different sizes, just cubes but smaller cubes. And I guess I'm going to add another effector. I'm just waiting until the end to add this another effector to make it look even better. And then in the end we're going to activate global illumination and ambient occlusion, so we have this way better looking object before we bring everything to After Effects. So okay, let's take another look, see how it looks. Looks good. Looks good, good. Okay, I might, in the middle somewhere, just bring the camera a little bit up so that our final animation won't be this blue thing over here, this reflection going up. So that this reflection going up doesn't appear that so much. It will be a little bit, subtle. So let's go to camera. In our middle keyframe over here, let's just move our camera a little bit up, like so. Keyframe it over there, and okay. Great. Right, now let's hide our luminance planes for a while. So let's just group this. Let's call it lum planes and hide it from our viewport. Okay. Now let's select our cubes and go to MoGraph effector, delay effector. Bring this delay factor a little bit downwards, and we can even put it on animation, no problem with that. So now make sure that in your cubes, in the effectors tab, the delay sits on the bottom of the random effector or whatever effector you have here. Probably you want to set this one on the bottom, and this is important. Okay, go back into your delay, make sure everything sits as it is. Just change the modes from blend to spring. I guess we'll see it. We'll try that and increase the strength, not until 100%, but maybe 80%. And now, when the animation starts, we should have. Let me try blend. We should have okay, this display view is not the best. Let's try to see it from here. Okay, so what's going wrong? It's 50. Not blend spring, I guess. I never know. Okay, spring and maybe 75 on strength. $75 seems too much. Let's choose 50. Not working, I'm not sure why. let's maybe 78. Let's bring the delay out from here. Not sure if this makes any difference. And maybe increase the random a little bit. So okay, we were lacking distance on the Z position, on the Z effector, on the Z axis from the random effector. Okay, so sorry about that. I'm not an encyclopedia, I don't know everything. I actually try, but yes, this is what we're aiming at. And this is with this, it will definitely look better. So the delay effector kind of gives this kind of, how do you say, a delay of what the effectors do to the cubes. So it kind of repeats the same thing that the effectors just did. I hope this sounds right to you guys. And we're looking at something a lot better, don't you think? Yes, yes indeed. So the ambient occlusion gives us shadows on the details of the object. So in between the cubes and the small holes over here and there, the ambient occlusion gives us this detail, these shadows that will increase the detail, and the global illumination just makes our planes, our luminance planes, give some light and make the lighting a little bit more natural and better looking. Okay, well, I think we're pretty much done. No. Okay, let's duplicate these cubes. Okay, and let's select the cube from the duplicate cloner and reduce the size. Okay. Going to object and change the seed a little bit until it fits good, something like so. And what we just did, whoa, if you notice anything strange going on, it's the delay effector. You have to be careful using that, because it's always calculating where the cubes are depending on the effector that you have before. So if you have a delay effector activated and you scrub the timeline from one side to the other, it won't have the desired effect. So you cannot trust that. Don't trust the delay effector. That's my tip for you guys. Okay, so hopefully we have some small cubes going around there. Yes. We have some reflections over here and there, as you can see. Some noise going on. Looks a little bit like the Transformers thing going on. Okay. Make sure it looks good from every angle or every frame. Wait a while. Roll a cigarette. Roll wherever you like to smoke. Don't smoke if you don't smoke. Don't smoke if you smoke. You know, smoke's not good for you. So go walk your dog. If you have a slow computer or something. Okay, everything looking good. Let's just see how this looks in the end. Okay. I just missed the end. Anyway, it looks good. I guess so. So let's make our final render. Let's just hit render settings, go into output, make sure we have everything that we need, all frames, okay, save format, let's just choose a PNG, PNG, where is it? Here, okay, choose a path that you would like to of tutorial. I'm gonna create another folder, render 2. I just did a previous render over there, just to try out. Wave, tut, don't like spaces, underscore in the end, and just save. Okay, alpha channel, very important. Make sure alpha channel is selected. Unselect this, and I might save this. Okay, relative, include everything, blah blah blah. Anti-aliasing from geometry, let's hit best. Okay, and voila, I think, let me just check again, once again, best, one by one, blah blah blah. So output, HD, okay, all frames, square pixels, blah blah blah, everything looking good. Utilizing best, global illumination, ambient occlusion, and great. Let's hit render. And now, yes, it is time to take a dog for a walk, drink coffee, smoke a cigarette. I don't know what you like to do in your spare time. Okay, so let's jump into After Effects. And now that our render is done, let's double click on the project tab and select our first PNG. Make sure PNG sequence is checked. Click open. Now right click on it, interpret footage, main. Make sure the alpha is set to pre-multiplied, made with color black, which is okay, and the frame rate is set to 29.97. Okay, great. Now click and drag this footage into a new comp, and this is our end result. Let's take a look at it. Looking good, looking okay. Great, now first thing, create a background, so right click over here, or just go to layer, new solid. Choose whatever color you want, doesn't really matter, and call it something like background or BG. Let's go to the Effects and Presets tab and search for ramp, gradient ramp, double click on it, make sure the background is selected before you double click on the effect, and let's choose some colors. So for this, I think I will have one color in the beginning and another in the end. So let's choose the color for the beginning. So before that, I would like to have not a linear ramp, but a radial ramp. So radial ramp, and set this black one somewhere over here, and the white one somewhere around here. You can then click and drag on these dots over here. Click swap colors, so you swap the colors. We want the brightest in the middle and the darkest away from us, or away from the scene. Let's pick some color over here, and with the other, let's pick some other color. It doesn't really matter for now, because we can then just change the colors a little bit. Okay, And for this, something a little bit more bluish and bright. Looking okay. Alright. Now, I'll click here the start color, the stopwatch of the start color and the end color. Click U to see everything that's animated. So we have these two keyframes over here. Let's bring the animation to the end and then change the colors to something a little bit closer to the scene right now. So the bright to here and the dark here, and then darken the darkest color and change a little bit. And there's no rules for me for this, I guess. I'm just changing as I see until I get a nice result. I'll go with something like this, like so. Maybe darken a little bit over here and darken a little bit over there as well. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have. Looking good. Okay. So the important thing I would say is that we have contrast in the beginning and in the end. Right now, I guess this is too saturated for my taste. I would say. Okay. And here maybe just slightly decrease the saturation. Another good tip is be careful with the saturated colors that you add. It might mess a bit your work. It might look a little bit how do you say, amateur if you use too much saturated colors. So be careful with that. We usually tend to, when we want a blue, we usually tend to come here and it's blue, but it usually doesn't look that good. Although this color doesn't look that bad, I might say. So let's leave it here. Okay, great. Now my background is set. I'm gonna lock it, and I'm gonna, oops, sorry about this. Let's hit enter and rename our footage to footage. Okay, let's duplicate the footage and let's mess a little bit with some effects. So first of all, let's choose a tint and add a tint to this top footage. Let's solo it for now and make sure you have the transparency grid on, so you can see better what's happening. Next, let's add a brightness and contrast, and just increase the contrast a bit. Yes, okay. Then we'll add Luma key. That's it. And let's increase the threshold. And this is why it's so important right now to see the grid, because it's you can see easier, although it's white, but you can see easier what's happening over here. Actually, you can't. It's better this way. Okay, like this looks good. Just add a little of edge feather, like so. And you know, these steps are just to create a little bit more interest. So right now I have, as you can see, too much. Here we have an awkward effect, like a really hard reflection, but here it doesn't look that bad. So let me just reduce the transparency and set the blending mode to, let's say, overlay, for example. Let's just hide to see the difference. Hide, reduce the opacity all the way up to 0, and just increase a little bit. And okay. Now this doesn't look bad, but this looks awful, I know. So let's maybe increase a little bit the feather, or maybe add some Gaussian blur. And honestly, I don't have a recipe for this. I'm just playing along. So let's see, with the effect, with all the effects, I mean, and without. So there's a slight interest going on here, slight changes around there. To increase a little bit the feather, maybe remove the blur and decrease the opacity. Okay, great. Alright, now let's mask this thing off. It's not giving anything good to the footage, so let's just create a shape with our pen tool around it, and this creates a mask on our footage. And right now it's set to add, so we'll see only what's inside the mask. But we want the opposite, so just click invert, and as you can see, it disappears, leaving us only with the desired part. Okay. To avoid these sharp cuts, just open the mask options, and increase the feather quite a bit. As you can see here, now it looks better. Okay, and we'll need to animate the mask, because as you can see, we don't want to see this, I think. Okay, so we'll start by here, and here we'll add a keyframe on the mask path over here. Click on the stopwatch for a keyframe, and around here, let's just, with the selection tool, double click on the mask and bring it to the right. Okay. Maybe too soon. Maybe we want this to be here. We'll click on it, bring it to the right. And I don't know if you can see, but if I uncheck, it still makes a lot of difference. So what we need to do is to change the expansion value and bring it up. Okay. Looking good. Looking good. Let's solo this for now. And now we can change the threshold a little bit so we have more detail, and we don't need to concern about this right part because the mask is actually cutting these parts off. Okay, great. So let's see. and we're good. We're good to go. Okay, now let's create some more interest to the background. And the way I am going to do this is just duplicate this footage and solo the footage. Okay, so we have this. Open the footage, go to the mask options, and where you see the mask, instead of add, let's just keep it by none, just for now. Increase the scale a lot, like so, and here we might want this Gaussian blur that I deactivated on the footage below, but here it might be handy, so check the Gaussian blur and increase a lot, like so. You just try around. Just play around with it. Let's see what it does. This I'm gonna call it background effects, and this one effects. So the background effects, I'm gonna bring it below the footage. Okay, this is the footage. Let's just change the color to something easier. So this is our footage. This is the important part. This is the effects. This is the background effects we just created. Here it is. As you can see, it makes a little bit of difference. We can tweak stuff here and there a little bit. Right now it's just brightening everything up a little bit, so let's just reduce a little bit the blurriness so we can see a little bit more. Okay, like so. Play with the threshold, play with the blurriness, play with the contrast, play with this stuff until we get, no, I just, okay, until we just have something that we enjoy. Set the overlay mode to maybe lighten, or maybe add, and bring down the opacity a lot, like 8%, and it really makes a difference. Okay, now another thing, because we still see this A and the V in the background looks, I don't know, I can see it and it looks strange. Let's just invert our V, I mean invert the footage vertically. So it looks better, and I can tell you exactly what I'm doing. I'm just playing around with the value, trying to look for some detail in the background, but not as much as this. We can move things around a little bit. It's not supposed to, we're not supposed to see what's happening exactly, just see some shapes going on, and to give us kind of a better interest of things. Okay, this looks quite good. I mean, I could play, although I see the E around here, like that. I could play around a little bit, but I guess it's not worth it. For this tutorial, I mean, you guys will come up with something really cool, I suppose. Let's create another solid, or no, let's create an adjustment layer, and let's hit curves on our effects presets, and Let's just create this nice shape that looks like an S. So shake that S and make it look good. And right now I'm just giving it some contrast. I might play around with the RGB, and I like to use different curves, different effects, even if they are the same. I mean, I prefer to, instead of coming here in the red and change the red here, I prefer to leave this one at RGB, so I can call it curves RGB, and then add another one and call it curves, let's say for an instance blue. And honestly, I'm not sure if I'm going to change anything right now, but you never know. This looks a little bit more saturated, not exactly what I was expecting. Yeah, but it looks better. Just took some saturation off the blue. And we can add another one. Choose the green and just take a little bit of saturation of the green. And just checking and unchecking. Okay, let's call this adjustment layer color correction, just to see easier. Check and uncheck to see the difference. Maybe it's a lot, maybe it's too much, so we can just decrease the opacity, like I would say something around 50%. And let's create a new solid, make it almost black, kind of bluish, dark blue, really dark blue. And then double click on this ellipse. If you don't see the ellipse, you can click and hold and choose the ellipse tool. And now we just created a mask in the shape of an ellipse. Invert the mask, make the mask, open the mask menu, feather it out a little bit so you can look a little bit better. Play with the expansion a little bit and with the opacity a bit. Okay. In the end, you can play as well with the opacity of the solid. So 0.78, I don't know. And unselect the top layer so we can get our end result. Looking good. Looking good. I might just do some small adjustments on our background. On our background effects. Before I work this out, I'll have to uncheck this. And I'm doing this because I don't want to see the mask. The mask is still there, but it just doesn't bother me anymore. Click W for the rotate tool and just rotate a little bit. Maybe it will look better, maybe not, who knows. Okay, I think it looks good. I might duplicate once more, make it bigger, the one on the back. Rotate a little bit. Let's just look at how this looks from here. Okay, I guess we're pretty much done. Final thing, just change from 8 bits per channel over here to 30 bits per channel. or 32 bits per channel, because our gradients will look a lot better. Everything will look a lot better. We'll have more colors, and let's see what we've got. We might have some issues here and there to adjust. I can see in the beginning over here, this looks a little bit awkward, and I guess it's from the effects. Yes, it is. So let's go into the effects and let's see what's happening. So let's solo this out and choose, oh, okay, here it is. Okay, brightness, contrast, luma key, threshold, increase the threshold a little bit, and probably it looks better right now. Okay, now we don't have that thing over there. It looks better. Run preview it once again. It might take a little bit longer because we're working in a bigger bit depth. Okay, looks good. Now I'll maybe add some blur to these reflections, to these effects, just a little bit to make it softer. So with and without, maybe a tiny bit, set it to 100% so I can clearly see what I'm doing. Hide and unhide, and you know. Okay, everything's looking pretty much okay. Let's run preview it once more. And it looks good. Well, it's too fast probably, but the point is to show the technique so you can then use it for whatever you want. Pretty cool technique. You can get pretty awesome effects. Okay, so this concludes our wave effect tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it, and it was pretty long. It was about, I don't know, an hour and a half maybe, but I hope it was worth it. So if you liked the tutorial, please share, like, subscribe, you know, all that good stuff. And be sure to leave your comments, and if you make something with this tutorial, I would be glad to see it, so feel free to post it as a video response to this tutorial. So once again, thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.